Somehow, my daughters fell in love with Formula One. I don't know how or why, but I'm not arguing. They may not know wheel, but does anyone?
Hi, welcome to We Don't Know We'll Have Fun. I'm Anne.
I'm Grace.
And I'm Jamie.
We're three sisters who fell in love with Formula One, and now you're forced to listen to us talk about it.
Jamie, I do think you spent enough time with the family to officially be a fifth sister.
That is an honor. Thank you. Truly an honor. I'm glad to be inducted into the Business Hall of Fame.
She's gone on enough vacations.
I'm staying in the family cabin.
Yeah.
I mean, you spent how many weeks at mom and dad's during COVID?
We don't talk about
None.
None?
None. I don't know what you're talking about.
Never in her life.
That wasn't me. That was the other Business sister.
Yeah.
Anyway, happy to be here.
Happy to have you. Okay, how did everyone watch this weekend?
Ooh.
I stayed up on Saturday night.
Ooh, committed.
It's a much bigger deal for you to stay up too, because I think it was at 10 o'clock in California.
Yeah, it was midnight.
Ooh,
I had slept fairly well all week and wasn't like sleep deprived to the point where I was like, I can stay up late, sleep in the next day. I'm all good. Anyways, Japan is just so awesome that I was excited. What about you guys?
It makes me want to go to the race. It looks so pretty.
I know. Put it
I've
on
heard
our
it's
list.
out in the middle of nowhere, which sounds amazing, but also like I would be stressed about traveling, getting out to the middle of nowhere, Japan.
I love that it's in the spring now. I'm like, let's leave it
too.
like this. I like this. Did Yuki say something about how he loved being home while the cherry blossoms were in bloom?
Yes.
That was really cool.
Okay, I like
I
that.
loved how all of the teams on their social media started like incorporating different cherry blossom motifs.
Yeah.
So fun.
They had it all over the broadcast. It was really beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was gorgeous.
It also just like looks like in Japan at this time of year, cherry blossom trees are just everywhere.
Mm-hmm. I haven't
beautiful.
been, but I would hope.
I haven't either. Definitely a bucket list thing though.
Oh, totally. I know. It's like kind of a win-win having cherry blossom season coordinate with Formula One calendar.
I will say, I feel like the one change in my opinion, I think would be really helpful would be to do Australia, Japan, and China as an actual triple header without breaks in between. Because if the whole idea is about sustainability and helping with driver jet lag, a lot of them are going back to Europe in between because there's a week off in between all of those races. So I was listening to the like Williams podcast with Alex and Logan, and Alex had between Australia gone back to the UK for like 2 days and then came back to Japan. And he said he was still like crazy jet lagged. His body just couldn't figure out what time it was.
Like, why would you do that?
Yeah,
well, he was going in to do simulator stuff in the factory.
So they need to get that mobile simulator. Yeah. No, I feel like that's a Williams issue too, though, because like
it definitely wasn't just him, though.
I know Carlos stayed.
I was gonna say I saw like Alex and Lily posting photos in like Thailand and stuff.
Well, yeah, so he went back home for 2 days and then they went to Thailand and then they went to Japan.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
So
that's a little on them, I think. Like you're saying, don't give them the leeway. Just back to back. We are where we are.
And definitely like I don't know anything about The Sims, but I mean, they literally take the entire team all over to these different countries. Yeah. So you are like, I assume the sim can travel in some way. If you can move the car, you can move the sim.
Yeah. How hard is it to move a sim?
Max is like, I take it everywhere I go. It's literally in my plane. They need to limit Max's time on the sim. No.
Did you see the pictures of like Max and Callie and Penelope going skiing before Japan.
No, I didn't see that, but I
that.
did see her like
There's
in the
really
garage.
cute
I heard him
pictures.
talking about how she was disappointed that he didn't really race in Australia.
Mhm.
And then, okay, wait, was she during the broadcast that I was listening to during the Dutch anthem? You could hear a little voice going, "Max, Max," and I think it was Penelope.
So
Cute.
I turned off the
And
broadcast.
then they like cut that. They cut that audio. I was like, oh.
I turned off the broadcast and went to bed right after the like driver cool down room because
Oh,
I've
it's
heard
my
the Dutch
favorite
national
part.
anthem too many times.
Mhm.
I'm really tired. I need to go to sleep. So I didn't see it
She's
live, but I
not a
saw
true fan.
videos after. There's videos where you can see Penelope like screaming for Max or like cheering for Max. So I think it was her voice that you heard.
That's
The
really
video is
cute.
super cute.
Very cute.
Yeah.
Very cute.
I watched.
How'd
go
you
ahead.
watch, James?
I watched on my laptop midday on Sunday. It was lovely. I sometimes during like pauses or like red flags, I'll fast forward. But I was just kind of enjoying the commentary. I was enjoying watching all the fans. And so I just kind of rolled through it. And my husband, I was saying off camera, my husband really enjoys race days because he knows he's going to get a nice long nap in. So
It feels like a full flip of like sports culture and men and like, it's Sunday, they're
I
watching football.
know.
And you're like, it's race day. My
Race
husband
day.
gets a nap.
It's his favorite day. He knows he's going to get a nap in, and I won't be pestering him to come hang out with me or come hiking.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, it was a great watch. I watched it by myself, and then Grace texted me right after or called me right after, and we found out we were watching simultaneously.
Aw.
I watched part of it when it started because I was working and I had like just laid down to bed. So I was like, well, perfect timing. Maybe I'll get to watch a little bit of this. And I probably watched like the first 25 minutes. And then I was like, I'm going to turn this off. It's going to make me anxious and I should just go to sleep. And then I did go to sleep. And then about midnight, I got woken up to attend a birth. And so I went and attended the birth. And then I sat down and was like, doing my paperwork, and I pulled open my phone and opened Instagram like a
Oh
ding dong and
no.
immediately saw that Carlos had gotten third, and I was like,
Oh,
well, I guess I don't have to feel anxious while watching this anymore.
true. True.
And then I finished watching it on Sunday while I was taking a walk. That was I was like, I'm
Ooh.
exercising and I'm listening to the race / watching it a little bit.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, it was very nice.
I was sitting on my couch and it was just perfectly warm, and Nick was napping next to me, and I was just like cuddled down into the couch, and I would like sometimes kind of like nod off a little bit, and then something would happen and I'd have to rewind it, and then I dozed a little during
I
this.
do kind of
Not that it was
love the late night doze while you watch the race.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
I
very
took advantage of
calming.
the red flag to like get fully ready for bed.
Good
So I could
idea.
just lounge in bed watching the rest of it. I also love the Sunday mornings. Wake up,
Same.
just turn it on
Don't
while
look
you're
at your
still laying
phone.
in bed.
Yes.
No, like when the race is actually on Sunday mornings for European races. I love those.
I also have to say, like, I never understand the people complaining about when races aren't in their time zone, especially Europeans, because I'm like, literally, the
Yes.
majority of the races are in your time zone.
Yes.
But two,
Mhm.
I feel like that's half the fun of it. Like, if it was
Yeah.
always Sundays at 3 p.m., I would be like, this is so boring.
Agree.
But I like sometimes it's on Saturday because it's
Mhm.
a totally different time zone. Like, I like that. I
Yeah.
like the global camaraderie of it.
I like that too.
I'm like,
I will
let's
say
mix and match.
the next race in China that starts at 2 a.m., I will not be watching that live.
That's so funny. I mean, the only reason this might sound funny. I don't mind at all watching not live. Like I don't mind watching it later on, like recorded. But sometimes I wish I could vote for driver of the day.
The
Yeah.
That's
app
kind of a bummer to
That's
miss.
half
the
the
big one.
time doesn't even work to let you vote for driver of the day.
It
What do you
what?
mean? I always am
I-
able to vote for driver of the
Yeah.
day.
Maybe it's my
You're
phone
not
being
doing your
stupid.
civic duty.
We should get I voted stickers and wear them.
Stop it. That should be our merch.
Oh
I
my gosh,
voted in driver
yes.
of the day.
That's great merch.
It's just like a little pin.
Yes.
I was trying to vote for Yuki for driver of the day, and
Aw.
I like in the app every time I tried multiple times. I would like find it in the like news section, click on vote for driver of the day, and then like just like click through until you get to the list of drivers. Click on Yuki, and for some reason the like formatting of the app puts the like the last button you need to click to say yes, I want to vote for this person below what shows on the screen,
Oh yeah,
and
like
it
you're
won't
trying
let
to
me
scroll
scroll
to it.
down.
I've had that happen to me in other
Yes,
formats. I don't
very
think in this one.
annoying.
Try on your computer next time and see if it
Well, I was
works.
watching on the computer.
Oh, well, split screen it. Just minimize.
Wait, so it doesn't
Dedication.
work on your phone?
Well, sometimes it will, but sometimes it won't. And I tried like 5 times.
That's strange. Did you try? Well, if it's on your phone.
I even like went to Safari on my phone and went to the website and it wouldn't work.
Oh, weird.
Mm-hmm.
So you were trying to vote for Yuki. Grace, who
Yeah.
would you have
I
voted
would have voted
for?
for Yuki. I was really debating while I was watching the race because I was like,
Yeah.
I was thinking about voting for Checo
I'm
because I felt like
always
his overtakes.
stop it.
He had a really good race. Don't even argue with me about that. And then I was like, wait,
Okay.
I have to vote for Yuki. Like getting a point in his
Yeah.
home race.
Yeah.
Yeah. The fact that he did not win driver of the day,
I
It's
know.
kind of
unhinged.
shocking.
Like
I know.
Charles?
Charles had a very
That-
good race. I have 2 theories.
Certainly.
I think there's a
But-
conspiracy amongst the Charles girlies.
That's one
There's
theory.
so much Carlos hate, and I bet that they banded together because Carlos
Stop
keeps
it.
getting
We
the
have to get
podium.
Carlos voted
They're
driver of the
like-
day.
I bet there's a Reddit thread or something out there that's saying Charles girlies, we need to give Charles some love or give him a win somehow. I don't know.
That's
my
fully
theory.
crazy.
That's my theory.
My other theory is that a bunch of those votes came when he was in P3 before Carlos passed him.
Yes.
Mm.
Yeah, because actually the voting was closing before, or like the voting was up before Carlos passed Charles.
Yeah. They usually have it up for like the last 15 laps and it closes a lap
Yeah.
or 2 before the end.
I mean, also, yeah, for sure Yuki should have gotten driver of the day. I'm sorry.
Absolutely. It should
Yes.
have been a landslide win.
All of RB should have gotten driver of the day for that pit stop.
Stop. That's not where I thought you were going, but
Yeah, same.
that's like, have you seen the memes about how Yuki was like, good job on the pit stop, guys? And everyone was like,
Yes.
he was being earnest.
I was like, me? If I said that, I would be upset about something. But did you hear the announcer say, no, he really means it?
He means it.
Just clarifying for our boy Yuki. He
For our
means
boy
that.
Yuki, who has not historically been out here like, good job, guys.
It was a little bit of a shock to the system. I think that's why I was like, whoa, what's happening? Thank you, whoever
Yeah,
the commentator
He
was
should
at
have
the
gotten
time.
driver of the day for that alone.
Here, I agree with that.
Did you guys hear when Checo had, after the second pit stop, like just passed, I think, Lando, and Charles was still in front of him, and then it was Max in front of Charles. Jolyon Palmer went into this like 30-second statement about how he thought Checo wasn't going to be able to get past Charles, and he thinks
Yeah,
Charles
and then he
has like
immediately
second
did.
place. Yes.
Julian Palmer was really on a tear about like how the race was going, and every
Mhm.
single prediction he made was not correct.
Off.
And
Like
and I
literally
kept
a
being
lap
like,
later, Checo passes Charles, and Julian Palmer was like, "Oh, I guess just ignore everything I just said."
sometimes they put
Just
up on the
own it.
screen like how many points they would get if they finish in the position they are in now. And I'm
Yes.
like, we're 20 laps
What's
in.
the point?
Why would I expect this to be the finishing positions?
Yeah.
And I felt like that's what Julian was doing the whole time, where I was like, I don't know why you're predicting that this will stay the same, but it does. It's not very good commentary. I'm going to be really harsh right now. It is like,
Bring
what
it
is the
on.
point of this commentary when you're just like,
Oh my gosh.
oh my gosh, this is how it is. And you're like, but it's a race. It's literally meant to change. It's not going to stay the same.
hmm
Especially in this race where there's so many different strategies going on.
hmm
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, good on him for Charles. Like he
Mhm.
made it last through
Yeah.
that whole race on one change of tires. Very impressive. Made a huge,
Yeah.
like, because of his ability to do that, was able to like move himself way up in the points. But
Mhm.
I don't know. It was hard to tell how much. Yeah, I'm not trying to be mean to Charles. Good job, Charles.
No.
Yeah.
Good job, Chuck.
Chuck.
But
Come
it
on,
does
Chuck
seem like the
Leclerc.
Ferrari is doing so much better on tire deg. And Carlos talked
Mhm.
about like, oh, my tire deg got so much better at the end because it got cloudy and
Yeah.
colder.
Yeah.
Mm.
I was
Dan's
telling
like, I don't
Grace.
know about that. I didn't listen. No.
I was telling Grace this yesterday when we were catching up, and I was saying, it feels like Ferrari, what's the word? I'm blanking on the word. They're getting better at, what is it that Carlos is always doing for Ferrari from his car?
Strategy.
Thank you.
They're getting better at
Strategy.
strategy.
Yes.
Yes, 100%.
Yes.
I also feel like they're getting better at communicating about strategy. Because think about like in 2022 and some of last year, how many just like ridiculous comments would go
Mm.
back and forth over
Mhm.
the radio between
Mhm.
Carlos and Charles and their engineers.
Yeah, I do think
And
you're
you
right.
don't hear that this year.
Yeah, like when Carlos was like, okay, so are we on for a race? And
Mhm.
is his engineer Ricky?
Sabi?
Yes. What? I think that's Charles.
Oh, sorry.
Doesn't matter.
I thought
Does-
you
I'm
said
Carlos got on
terrible
the
with
radio and
names.
he was like, are we in this race? And his engineer immediately was like, yes, we are.
Mhm.
And like, here's what's happening. And I
Yeah,
was
that
like,
was great. Love to
No.
see
not,
it.
we are
We are
checking.
Oh
Maybe.
gosh. We had $1 for every time that was said last season.
Maybe I should make you a birthday cake when you're in town that says we are checking on the top, Grace.
Oh my gosh, stop.
I love that. Okay, then let's talk briefly about Alpine. Yeah, so
Mm.
Yuki was robbed. Let's talk about Alpine.
Mhm.
Yes,
Sad.
Alpine.
What is there to
how-
say? I never even saw them on the screen, except for Ocon
Okay.
being like, I am pushing.
How do you go from being in the like a decent team in the midfield to
Yeah.
last?
What do we
Like
know about
last.
who owns this team?
Deadpool.
Deadpool owns it. So he is not bringing much to the
And the
table here.
Chiefs.
The
Yeah.
Chiefs own it?
No, but
Well,
what's Travis Kelce?
Kelce and Pat Mahomes have both invested. They're part of a like big investor group that invested in it.
How? They must not have invested enough money. No.
Yeah. Because
But
Alpine
really,
used to be Renault, right?
mhm,
Mhm.
yes.
Okay. Yeah. So they should be doing much, much better. Historically, they've done much better. Like they were kind of like where McLaren is now, right?
They were definitely like midfield last year,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
and in 2020, there was
right before Alonso left.
I don't
Or
even
no,
know.
no before he came
2020.
back.
Yeah, you're
Before
right.
he came
Sorry.
back,
A few.
it was like Mercedes and Max at the front,
Mhm.
and then basically Racing Point Renault, and McLaren were all really tight, competing for who is going to be next best after those top three.
Yeah, now they're like worse than Haas
Yeah.
and
Like,
Williams.
yeah, when
And Williams only has one car.
yeah, I mean,
That's so bad. But true, but bad. But true.
here's a question. Would you rather be working for Williams or working for Alpine right now?
Williams, 100%. I
Yeah.
don't even know how you give a different answer because it seems like
But-
Williams, like, I don't know. I just trust James Vowles. I'm like, he is righting the ship. Maybe I'm totally wrong, but I'm like, he's working on it. But Alpine, I feel like they're in the middle of their chaos. Like, they're
Mhm.
like, we need to fire everyone. And you're like,
They're
is
Williams
anyone
from
in
3 years
charge?
ago.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Well, isn't
I 100% agree with you, but at the same time, if you're talking about like the job of a car mechanic for the last 2 weeks, think about how many cars the Williams mechanics have had to put together over the last 2
they should
weeks.
be
I
really
thought we
good
were
at
saying
it.
like I work in PR.
I was gonna say they should be really good at it by now.
But I do feel like Williams is on like a build up, which is why they're
Yeah.
still like they're in a growing stage, which has growing pains and like there's like they're
Yeah.
getting onto like the same page, they're getting organized, but that is a growing process.
Yeah.
Alpine literally seems like they're just chaos.
Mhm.
I listened to the James Vowles High Performance podcast episode.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So good. And to me, one of the most interesting things that he said is that he told the team when he came in, like, I don't care about this year. I don't care about next year. I don't care about the year after in terms of results. What I want you to do is like stress test everything that we have to figure out what our strengths and weaknesses are and what we need to do to improve so that in 26, with the new regulations, we can actually be ready to be a competitive team.
Interesting.
Long
Mhm.
game. They're playing a
Mhm.
long game. Makes sense.
Mhm.
That's a hard one.
It is a hard one. And I honestly am only referencing this from Drive to Survive. But remember when Danny was on Renault and then we were kind of like, why did he switch from Renault to McLaren? Do you guys think, is this kind of why? Like he knew kind of behind the scenes some chaos was going to go down? Or do we think this is like a more recent thing?
I don't know.
All
I
theories,
think
of
it could
course.
be that. I think it could also be that Danny is just super competitive and wants to be in the best car that he can be in. And when he signed with Renault, they were better than McLaren, and he didn't want to stay at Red Bull. He didn't have options at Mercedes or Ferrari. And so then he went to Renault because that was the other thing that he could do. And then
Mhm.
McLaren got better. He was like, oh, I should go to the better team.
I literally talked with my therapist today about Danny Ricciardo.
This is amazing. Please share what you feel comfortable.
I talked about Danny and Carlos and resiliency and how I want to build resiliency in my life. I want to
That's
be more like
incredible.
Carlos.
What did you talk about in regards to Danny? Like he's just losing it?
An example of
Yeah,
not
I
being
was like, they
resilient.
literally
Yeah.
have taken like very similar paths, but each time, like when Carlos loses his seat, I feel like his response is just to be like, okay, well, watch me. I'm actually better than you realized. But when Danny loses his seat, it's almost like he's like, where do I go from here? Like, I don't know how to respond. And then we talked about like responding to failure because we're all going to fail in life.
Dang. That's deep.
Oh,
That's
Very
so
deep.
deep. Let's talk about Danny and his
ooh.
failures.
I want to hear your thoughts, JV, as a
Well,
resident Danny fan.
as the resident Danny fan,
Yeah.
I think that he has a great career in Grace's face is scaring me. Okay, maybe I won't start off that harsh.
No, say it. No,
I
we
think he
want
has
the
a
real
gr-
answer.
I think he has a great career in like PR and like the media team because he is the face. Like people love him and he has such a good sense of humor and he's relatable and literally, yeah, there's so many Danny girlies out there, but I feel like he's past his prime and he's good. It's just I've been slowly letting go. Like I'm in the realization that like I don't think he's gonna be on the
She's
grid much
accepting the
longer.
breakup.
I am. I went through the stages of grief on this. I cried, I was angry, like when McLaren let him go. I was in denial, honestly, and now I'm kind of like, you know what? I think I'm accepting it. I don't want to see it. I feel in some ways I don't know if I feel bad for him, but I'm like, it's hard to see. It's hard to watch,
Yeah.
you know?
Let me ask you this. Sometimes on like Instagram Reels or social media, I see other F1 girlies who are
Mhm.
talking about how like we're all wrong. Here's why Danny is actually doing great. What do you
Okay.
see these and what do you think of it?
I haven't seen those. Send them my way.
Okay.
Because I need some hope. I'm feeling a
I
little
need some hope.
hopeless.
Imagine if you were a Carlos girly right now, you'd be so happy. No.
I mean, I'm tangentially a Carlos girly.
You're like, I am related to you.
I'm more of a Carlos girly, absolutely, than I am Charles. And okay, Grace and I were also, we can segue into Charles stuff, but I feel like there's so much to be said about Charles and the
Okay.
Ferraris.
Should we talk about Charles after the break?
Yeah, let's take a
Yeah.
quick break and we'll come back and talk about Charles.
Okay. Welcome back to driver vote for the driver of the day. Here, hopefully in my hands, is the new driver of the day merch line. If not, TBD, stay tuned. Have you ever been listening or watching the Formula One race and thought to yourself, who would I vote for driver of the day? Oh, well, think again, folks. We need to do our civic duty and vote for our drivers of the day. These boys depend on us. They need us. Charles, he needs a win right now, everyone. His teammate has been outperforming him. And, well, this could be the only win he has all season. Hate to say it, folks. Vote for the driver of the day. And when you do so, put our beautiful little pin right on your shirt, your collar, your sleeve, your backpack, so everybody knows you voted.
I love it, James.
Thank you. Should have got into advertising.
I think that's our most unhinged fake ad we've had.
Hopefully that ad turns into a real ad.
Yeah.
If it does, we're gonna use exactly that ad.
With our powers combined.
This might be Charles's only win.
Yeah, you like that?
That was so good.
Just
You really
to me.
came for him.
Sorry, Charles. I love
Yeah.
you.
Let's get into the Charles of it all, James.
do it.
I don't know
Good
that I really have a
segue.
lot to say on it. I stay out. I live in Carlos's world.
This is Carlos's world and we're just living in it.
That's what I'm saying.
I feel like the thing to me that's the most mystifying about what's happening in Charles Land is that Charles is not doing horribly.
No.
He's just not always beating his teammate.
He's not in the flow zone. Like
He's
Carlos
not
is
like connected with the car. He's not like super happy with setups all the time. And I feel like it happens to most drivers at different points in their careers. And yet the Carlos girls are just freaking out.
Is it the Carlos girls or is it just like me and Grace that are
I'm sorry.
enjoying this
I
ride?
meant the Charles
say
girls.
Charles girls.
I meant to say Charles girls
Oh,
are
okay.
freaking out, not the Carlos girls. My apologies.
Okay. Wait, actually,
That's too, though.
yeah. James and I were talking about this yesterday, and I was just like, this is my darkest. Nobody come for me with this comment. I don't think Hamilton's gonna do better at Ferrari. Like, I think it's a little bit like it's it's gone. It's past.
I kind of wholeheartedly agree. I hate to say it, but I thought it, and it was a sad, dark thought. Sorry, Sarah.
If he proves me wrong, I'll be so happy. Like if he
Same,
comes in
same.
and he has a full Alonso at Aston Martin season, I will be so happy. But I'm worried.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Mercedes this year is not that much better than the previous years. And I have this feeling that Charles is going to figure out the car through the course of this year and figure out setups, figure out like how it works well. And I think he's going to be able to use that to start next year well. And like if your teammate has a lot of setups figured out, I think it can be a big advantage to you.
Yeah, I'm
you're
interested to
coming
see what
into a new
happens with the
team.
two of them together.
So-
Also, let's briefly talk about Alonso and Stroll. Not to be totally off track, but speaking of teammates,
How
the disbelief.
can you have one driver in second in qualifying in Q1 and the other driver in, was it 16th, 17th?
sometimes it happens, but it's also like it's not a sprint weekend. It's not like they didn't have time for
No.
like they
Stroll
missed
had the
one. They missed
upgrades.
a free practice for the rain.
Stroll had the upgrades a day before Alonso did.
Interesting. You know what really puts a bee up my bonnet about all this?
Yeah, let's hear it.
During the red flag, you see Lance out here just lounging, foot up on a table. I'm like, if he cares, he sure knows how to hide it because he doesn't show
Wait,
it
didn't you
at
hear his
all.
radio during the race where he was like,
No.
this car is so slow on the straight. It's a different world.
Yes, I did hear that. He feels so nonchalant. He has this like
He needs to get into pro surfing.
yeah, well,
Why do you laugh?
After we put
I
out
was
that
trying to
video,
remember the superlatives and what we said for Lance.
I
Anyways,
remember saying something about Nepo baby.
yeah, there you go, folks. He just doesn't seem bothered. I'm like, I feel like when Carlos is in a moment like that, he's focused, he's intense, he's looking at the screens, and Lance is literally lounging back. Lounging. I was like, what are you doing?
It's one thing to lounge when you're Kimi Räikkönen and you're like a generational talent who just like walks into the car and makes it work.
Yeah.
And it's another to lounge when your teammate who's like 20 years older than you is outscoring you and out-qualifying you every weekend.
Exactly. The vibe he's giving off is not it. And I don't understand, but I'm not a Nepo baby, so.
Was so ready to be way more supportive of him last year when he put out that video about like how hard he worked with PT to get back after the bike accident. And
you just want to be able to surf, Anne. No.
He just wants to do what he wants to do.
You don't see in his and how he acts at the track that same like passion and drive, and maybe it's not maybe it's there, we're not seeing it.
Like, has he had to? I'm again not denying the fact that he has in some way worked
very hard.
But like, has he really had to work for this the way that like the Hamiltons have, or you know?
Yeah, no, but I mean, like they're mostly all rich and privileged with parents who certainly helped their career. So I don't want to fault him too much for that. But I am like, you know, sometimes quitting is actually the thing that leads to our happiness and finding what we really love.
To circle back in a different way, do we feel that same way about Danny?
Ooh. Well, okay, so I hate to agree with you, Jamie. No. But I am like, I actually think he's going to be an incredible commentator who will bring, like, I'm like, take Jolien out and bring Danny in.
I would love to see that.
I had no idea you were such a non-fan of Jolien Palmer.
I just don't think he's like bringing a lot of interest. you know,
he drove in Formula One for several
I
years.
know that. I know that. And yet, I feel like the other drivers who are on, when they are like telling stories, I'm like intrigued and learning. And when he's
Mhm.
talking, I'm like, I don't know. I'm not getting a lot here.
Mhm.
I'm being too mean. But I do think that Danny is going to do like really good commentary, and I'm very excited. I don't want him to be one
Yeah.
of the people. I don't want him to be a mock Webba, like interviewing people after the
Yeah.
race. I want him giving me the commentary.
Yes.
You want
I
him in
agree
the
with that.
box.
I
Yeah.
want him in the box.
Same. I would love that. And yeah, when I say I think he has a great like career, like he has a great career in Formula One in some form or fashion, because we do like Danny Rick, and I would hate to see him leave. And like I said, it's really hard to watch what's like his start of his season, especially because I felt like
Mhm.
he was doing pretty well last season. So it makes
Yeah.
me wonder what's going on.
I do still feel like he has a couple more races, and like maybe it's
Yeah.
unlucky, because you could say the same thing about Alex Album right now, and I
Sure.
don't think he's washed at all. I just think
Sure.
he's
Yeah.
had like an unlucky couple of races.
Mhm.
But at the same time, Alex Albon has not been out qualified by his teammate
Yeah,
and
poor
beaten in the
Logan
race by
Sargent.
his teammate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's okay. So I know like in the last race when Williams like put Albon
Logan.
in Logan's
Mhm.
car, I was like, there were all these people coming for Williams, but I was like, but also like, what would you do if you were their strategist? Like, you can't tell me you wouldn't do the same. I'm
And
sorry.
the last few years, Australia was one of the tracks that Williams was best at. So how do you not take advantage of that opportunity to
Yeah.
try and have a really good race?
Exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah. Do we think that Logan's contract up at the end of the season? Do we know? Yeah.
He only got a 1-year deal.
So
I'm worried for him. But
yeah, me
also, I'm
too.
like, yeah, there does come a point where you're like, we need to see the other drivers and see like
Mhm.
Mhm.
I think because, and
time.
the other thing that's hard too, I can't remember which podcast this was, but someone on one of the other F1 podcasts was talking about how if it was reversed and it was Danny that was doing so well and Yuki that was kind of in Danny's shoes,
Oh,
the
yeah.
conversation would be different. And I thought that was such a great add to this conversation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which I
Yeah,
would say,
and
I feel like last week there was a lot of conversation about Carlos being an underrated driver. And I think that was a like justifiable good conversation to be having, because I do think that he is not valued as much as he should be.
you didn't agree with Norris. He
Oh,
What did
no.
Norris say?
I really actually I liked what Norris and
Charles.
Charles were
Oh,
saying
yeah.
about like in the paddock with the people who matter, he's not
They-
undervalued.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
And
thought
I
that was
think
actually
it
really
was
sweet.
It was in classic Lando fashion, where he was actually being like, Carlos is incredible and everyone knows he's incredible,
Mhm.
and like he is valued correctly.
It was
But
very
it was
sweet.
such a classic Norris, where you were like, way to put your foot in your mouth, when they're like, do you think he's undervalued? And he was like, hell no.
But what I was gonna say is that I feel like we should be having the same conversation about Yuki right now. Of Yuki has
Yeah.
been doing so well, so
Mhm.
impressive. He, to me, out of the bottom 10, has been the one that's been impressing me the most.
Hmm.
And he's not really in the conversation about like, well, he's definitely not in the conversation about going to Red Bull. And I feel like it's going under the radar more than it should be.
Yeah, I agree with you. I
Mhm.
think the other side of that, like not to maybe see the other perspective, which I do think there is, like, it's a good discussion to have. But I guess
Mhm.
in my mind, I'm like, I see where the people who are thinking fully about Danny are coming from, only because of his history, like at Red Bull and being competitive and winning races.
Mhm.
But yeah, you come back to this, like, it does feel like in F1, there is this kind of like cyclical thing that happens where it's like when people have won races, when they've been at top teams and done well, then the perspective is always like they can come back and do that again. They just need to
Mhm.
get back there.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But I
Like
don't
Seb,
actually think that's true.
yeah,
I
like
think
Seb,
it's true for like a minority.
Mm-hmm.
Seb his last year at Ferrari had a rough year, a rough go,
Mhm.
and I don't think the year before was that great either. And he never really got back to his like championship winning form when he was with Aston Martin either.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly am not even clear if that's because of age. Because
Yeah.
my instinct is almost like maybe it's not. Maybe it's like, what's your drive? What's your fight? How is your ability to get in your flow? What's your,
Mm-hmm.
because like obviously I think Alonso's that perfect example of someone who you're like, he still loves it.
Yeah. He is fighting out there
Mhm.
every time he races.
Okay. You know what I think is crazy right now is in the constructors, Mercedes and Aston Martin are very close to each other.
I think it's like,
Ooh.
I don't know how many points it is actually.
They're
That's
super close to each other. Lance
Oh,
is
yeah.
obviously not contributing much to what's happening in Aston Martin.
Mhm.
Did Mercedes have a double DNF in this season? I think they did.
Australia.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that did not help them either. But it does make you be like, is the right move for Alonso to leave Aston Martin? Or should he stay
I
and get
mean,
Stroll off so he can get another better driver in there?
I do think that if you're Kimi Antonelli or Lando Norris or Oscar Piastri and you're looking for a championship winning team, Mercedes is not looking like that.
I know. And it
Yeah.
does bring up for me, like, I feel like almost when we started this pod 3 years ago, like, I
Back in
had
the
this
day.
perspective through so long ago. I had this perspective that, like, Mercedes was really, like, they were this methodical team that, like, had they had the science down. And
The
now I'm
German
like,
precision.
that was all a lie that they fed me. No, they had money.
Well, and there was also this perception at the start of 22 of like, okay, yeah, they're really struggling right now, but
Mhm.
they're the team that can figure it out.
And they've
And
literally not
yet,
figured anything out.
where are they?
Yeah, they did come back though last season. Because didn't they struggle
Did
at the
they?
beginning of last season? And
I
they
think Ferrari just got worse by the end of the season.
Ferrari was the strongest
Hmm.
team by the end. Charles was getting consistent front rows and podiums at the end of
that
the
was
season.
interesting. Yeah.
That's true. They were weirdly matched, I would say.
Yeah. It is also hard to see Mercedes fall, but it's fun to see some other teams come up.
Yeah. I think another difference with Mercedes is that when Red Bull went from a championship winning team from 2011 to 2013, and then the new regs come in and they start struggling, and Mercedes just like dominates everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Red Bull could pretty clearly point to our engine has issues. Our chassis is good. Our car design is good. We as a team are good. Our engine has issues, and we're not making our engine. Mercedes doesn't have that.
They're
That's
doing all of it.
interesting.
But
Yeah.
also Red Bull was still out here like constantly switching it up, being like, what if we did this driver? What about this driver? What if we changed these things? Like they were, I don't know.
Ruthless.
It's interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting. That's a really interesting point.
Mhm.
I'm so curious to see what's going to happen. Is it 2026 when
Mhm.
Yeah.
things are changing up again? And then when is Red Bull's engine? Like, isn't there something?
2026.
Oh, is that it? Okay. All the
Mhm.
same year.
Yeah. So I think that also is like shaking up. I wonder how much that's like leaving everyone feeling unsure about making decisions for the drivers market because you have no idea what
No
you're going to
idea.
walk into with each team.
I think the other thing that is making everyone pause on driver market decisions is that I think a lot of teams are really uncertain what Max is going to do. And like, I can only assume every team would want to take Max if they possibly could.
It seems like anywhere Adrian Newey is going, Max is going.
Who's Adrian Newey?
He's the car designer for Red Bull.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, they're like chief aerodynamicist.
Okay.
Do you like my scientific? He's the
Well, where
car
do you think
designer.
Adrian
I
Newey
got
is
it right away.
going?
I
Has he
honestly
talked about
wonder if
leaving?
he's going to go to Aston Martin.
Aston Martin.
Yeah, and then Stroll's going to lose his seat, and then Max will get his seat, and that's actually like I'm locking that one in.
I can
Dang,
imagine a world
she
where
has
Adrian
voted.
Newey goes to Aston Martin and Alonso loses his seat, and then it's Max and Stroll.
I almost
And Stroll
maybe
just gets utterly
annihilated.
destroyed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There
That's-
has to come a moment where you're like, I love you, son.